Xbox Games Showcase. Welcome back to Sodi Pop right here on YouTube. Today is Thursday, July 23rd. I'm Matty, and this is Chatty with Matty, your source for the daily gaming news. You may notice I have a little bit different setup today. Well, I am in the middle of moving, but I did want to cover the Xbox Game Showcase today since that was a big thing we've all been waiting for. I should be back to mostly normal next week, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, of course, with the weekly gaming news recap and the daily gaming news recap as well. Well, we had, of course, a big Xbox showcase today, and then none other than Taylor Swift is releasing a new album. Well, all right, let's get going. So, my overall view of this showcase, I think Microsoft is a company pushing two things, and it's pushing one, in my opinion, much more successfully and much harder than the other. And those two things are the Xbox Series X and, by extension, the Series S, and Game Pass. And I think it's pushing Game Pass more. I think it's probably more important to them for their long-term goals, and it's a great value right now. So they talked a lot today about a whole lot of different games. It was a lot of stuff that we wanted to see. It was just games, but there's nothing to me that stuck out as like, this is only possible on the next generation. We're gonna get into that. So we're gonna cover the games. I'm gonna cover mainly just the ones I picked out as that I'm excited about. Of course, if you are excited about any particular games, go down below and comment. I did watch Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest, his before and after show. There's some interviews that he did, and then some world exclusives that he showed as well. Number one, I thought this was the first thing I saw. It's probably my game of the show. This is called Balan Wonderland or Wonder World. I keep on missing the actual name of it, but Balan Wonderworld, and it is actually a game by Square Enix, former, if you remember, Nights into Dreams or whatever, and you can clearly see that in the design of the characters, the Nights characters. It's a 3D platformer. It's an action game as well. There's 80 different costumes that you can solve puzzles with. Looks like a lot of fun. I definitely am very interested in that. I love the big colorful world. I love kind of the return of the platformers, and that we're able to see more and more games like this. Oddly enough, on this YouTube video, this is the PS5 trailer, so keep that in mind. It's coming to both systems just fine. Also, we had Dragon Quest XI be announced, coming on Game Pass December 10th. So that's coming pretty soon, December 10th. This year we have Dragon Quest XI S, so that was the remake they did, or the re-release they did for the Nintendo Switch, where they combined all this stuff. They combined the 2D and 3D modes. That's going to be coming to Game Pass, so awesome. I haven't bought that game yet. I just played the demo, which was like a 4 or 5 hour demo, pretty good demo on Nintendo Switch, so I'll have to play it on a Game Pass when that comes out. So we're gonna stop that one here. They also showed other games. They had Echochroma, which is a free-to-play kind of mech game, really cool. Of course, we're gonna move right into Halo. Halo, we have to talk about this, of course. We have to talk about Halo, of course. So they showed about 8 minutes of gameplay. The gameplay looked like Halo. Of course, you have a grappling hook, which reminds me of, Apex Legends or any other game that now has a grappling hook. That's great. They're introducing new stuff. But I felt like this about the trailers of Halo as well, where, again, it didn't say anything next gen to me. It's not like the facial animations are going crazy. Let me fast forward a little bit to the actual gameplay. But it looks like more Halo. This is, of course, their flagship game. I'm excited for it. I want to play Halo, but it's not something that necessarily sells me on the Xbox, and that's something that keeps on going through here. Is like, well, you can play it on PC, you can play it on your old Xbox One, and if you want to play it the best, quote unquote, if you want 120 frames per second or 60 frames per second for some games, you're going to have to buy the Series X. So again, they keep on pushing Game Pass, and they make a super compelling argument for Game Pass, but again, as reasons to buy the Series X into the next generation, I didn't see a ton in this particular showcase, and that's why I was like, it was fine for me, but there wasn't anything that couldn't be done on this current generation in terms of graphics and such. Also, one of my big things, and this looks like an indie game, so hopefully it should be coming to PS5. I haven't seen it yet, but this is called Echo Generation. It's an RPG. If you guys have ever played 3D Game Heroes, it was on the PS3 or PS4. It was kind of Zelda-like. The aesthetic of that combined with something like Stranger Things looks like a lot of fun. The music is really spot on. Really pretty looking games, an RPG. I'm actually really excited. This is, again, was a big standout to me, in my opinion. And again, I think this is a third-party game, so hopefully we will see this come to the entire game space, and of course we'll see it on the PC. We also had Shredders, which was a snowboarding game that looked really interesting. We had State of Decay 3, which of course is an upcoming sequel. They only showed CG trailer of that. They have Forza Motorsport coming from Turn 10. Now, as we see later, that Turn 10 is actually making next Fable game, so we probably won't see Motorsport for a while, probably a few years off. We got to see Rare, what they are working on, so we got to see Everwild. No, we do not have Banjo and Kazooie. Banjo and Kazooie returning. Looks like you'll be saving animals, kind of cool visuals. Looks interesting. Didn't like wow me or anything. We also had Don't Nod with Tell Me Why. Looks like a kind of a story game. Looks pretty interesting. Moon Studios with Ori and the Will of the Wisp, kind of a remake. It's going to be 120 frames per second in 4K. That's great. The Ori games are fantastic. Obsidian, they're releasing a Outer Worlds Peril on Gorgon. They're releasing a game called Grounded. And then the big one, Avowed. So Avowed is kind of the next gen Skyrim. This is what we've been looking forward to, Obsidian Entertainment. Again, I mean, they're working on Grounded, they're working on the Outer Worlds Peril on Gorgon, and then they said there's going to be a second story DLC for the Outer Worlds. So how far off is this? It could be a couple years off. You know, it's pretty early. We only saw this fancy looking CG trailer, really no gameplay at all. Well, no gameplay. We saw maybe hints at gameplay at the end when he drew a symbol with his hand, but I am not convinced that it's going to be anytime super soon. Very excited for it, but it's probably going to be a little whiles off. We had Interior Night is a new studio, had At Dusk Falls, Ninja Theory, of course, showed Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, and then we had Warhammer Darktide, which looks okay, Double Fine Psychonauts 2, which was again a game I was really interested in. So Jeff Keighley afterwards had a brief interview with Tim Schafer, who of course is the head of Double Fine here, and he said that just like the previous Psychonauts game, you'd be going into different brains, and this was kind of a Sgt. Pepper, Lonely Hearts Club Band, Yellow Submarine type mind, but not all the different worlds are going to be like this. You know, this is just one specific world. I'm excited for Psychonauts. Again, kind of a 3D platformer puzzle solver. I really like those games. Again, visuals look fine, but they're not pushing them in any particular direction. You don't see any like insane textures on something. Again, and this is just kind of how it is, or how I felt the entirety of the showcase. We also got to see the medium again. The medium is looking a little bit better and better the more I keep seeing it. You have two separate worlds that are playable at the same time, and you switch between them to solve the puzzles. Also part kind of horror game. Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis. That game is just forever around, Phantasy Star Online. And then we had Smilegate with Crossfire, looked like a multiplayer FPS, maybe a first person as well. And then Fable, and we'll go right into the Fable announcement trailer. Again, this is a CG trailer. It's going to be by Playground Games, who I had mentioned before are making the Forza games for Forza Horizon. So they are a great studio. It's no longer made by, was it Lionshead or Lionsgate, which was Peter Molyneux. And so you don't have that. Peter Molyneux was obviously just this enigmatic creator. He always overpromised, you know. So be curious to see their take on it. Fable is much welcomed. Very, very exciting to see it come back. But again, how far off of is it? We didn't see any gameplay. Could be several years off. I'm very excited for it. And again, because we didn't see any gameplay, I would not think that anything we see here is representative of what the final game is going to look like as far as like the lushness of the scenery and how everything moves. This is purely a CG trailer. You know, this is not necessarily the promise that we have come to hope of stuff that we see in Pixar movies is just going to be playable as a game. Of course, Senua's Sacrifice or Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 is going to be on Unreal Engine 5, which again is probably a ways off because 2021. So that kind of concludes what they have. I'm excited for a lot of the stuff they had to show, but again, it goes back to the fact that they are pushing this Gamepass, which is a phenomenal product, and from what I've seen, there's not all these games that look unlike what is available on current generation stuff. It's interesting because the PS5 is taking a very typical approach. They are revealing the hardware. They have a new controller, which everyone's concerned about the new features, the haptic triggers, or the haptic feedback, but the actual triggers that provide tension. And so that's very exciting to think of a new way to play games, or just something to immerse yourself more in. These things for Xbox, well, we're going to be able to bring a lot of the old stuff in. They're pushing Game Pass, but the positive is you get to play a lot of stuff for seemingly a very reasonable price. The negative is the hype behind it. There's not these definitives, you will not be able to do this without this. The excitement behind it isn't nearly as much for me. I was hoping to see, again, maybe like a third-person game that was equivalent to Sony's third-person games, you know, the Uncharted, The Last of Us 2, Horizon Zero Dawn, Spider-Man. Like, they have all these amazing third-person one-player story games. I did not see that. You know, Fable might bring that, but I did not see that in this Xbox showcase yet. So they said they have more games to show. I'm sure they do. It did not wow me. It was okay. Let me know your thoughts below. I'm excited for Taylor Swift's new album. Always been pretty solid. But yeah, let me know what you think below. Again, these are just my thoughts. It had concluded. I watched all of Jeff Keighley's stuff, interview with developers. I think Xbox is going to represent, especially the Series S, if it comes around that $250, $300 price point, I think it's going to represent an insane value for people who want really good 1080p gaming. And other than that, it's going to be, okay, do I upgrade my PC or do I buy a Series X? In which case, usually probably after a year and a half, upgrade your PC. You can still play all the Xbox games, get Game Pass, and then if you want PS5 for the exclusives, same with Nintendo, if you want it for Mario and the exclusives, you get that. But this particular showcase did not do anything to show me that I needed a Series X. It showed me that I needed Game Pass though, which is great. I love the value. So let me know what you think below. Let me know if I missed any games that you thought were amazing. You think I'm just crazy. I just want to discuss with you guys because I have definitely a lot of thoughts on this. I have a whole video about Xbox and their strategy coming out. And actually this particular showcase just confirmed everything I thought to me. So very excited to show you. Again, that will be coming out sometime in the next week or so. Have a wonderful day. Remember to follow me on the 3Ts and IG, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and Instagram on SodiPop or at SodiPop Media. Have a wonderful day. Remember,
be yourself
and eat a cookie. Bye.